What's up, Spider Nation? This is Spider-Man, the host of Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show, and this is episode number 11 of Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show, because that stupid, ugly guy decided, yeah, I'm not going to host this episode. It's actually going to be me, Spider-Man. So let me introduce my co-host tonight. The other ugly, stupid guy decided not to show up either. Instead, we got Michael Myers. Say hello to the people, Michael Myers.
Correction, the full name is Rob Zombie's Michael Myers, because I'm a hobo and I'm white trash, because that's all Rob Zombie characters are, and Michael Myers, fuck the mystery of how did this good kid turn into a psycho serial killer. No, he had an abusive family that swore a lot in white trash and trailer park, yeah. Because see, even when I take off my mask in part 4, I got the hair and the beard, and I talk, because hillbilly, die, Loomis, die!
And so now that...
Ooh, thank God the new Halloween movie is ignoring the remake.
Yes, and I'm going to unmask Spider-Man right here after my horrible impression of Spider-Man's voice. I don't even know what voice I was trying to emulate there. I was just trying to sound like an idiot.
You sound like the Drake Bell one. Mine is the homophobia of the transgender people.
Oh, great. That just had to come up on this podcast. Yeah. So I apologize for my very poor impression of Spider-Man. I was trying to sound like an idiot. I wasn't really trying to sound like Spider-Man. I was just trying to sound like your stereotypical.
And second, I did that and my voice hurts now.
Yes, for those of you who do not know, or maybe we're not watching this episode live, unfortunately this is actually our second take of this episode, after James knocked his power cord out of his laptop. So yay for accidental dispowerings. So yes, this is episode number 11.
I blamed this piece of shit movie because I had to make a goddamn joke about this piece of shit. Like the original, not the shitty remake. Good, classic, original. Shitty remake. The debut
this is episode
Curtis. Some chick that I don't even know that did anything else. John Carpenter. Rob Zombie. Good shit.
All right. This is episode number 11 of Spider-Man's Tangled Web Show. We apologize. We did not get an episode out last week. Unfortunately, our schedules kind of conflicted a little bit. James was doing Integral Radio. I was doing other things like taking the ACT. So, unfortunately, the stars did not align properly for us to have an episode last week. But we do have an episode this week. So, yay for camaraderie, or I don't know what the heck to call it.
Yay for us not having lives on the weekend?
No, today I actually cleaned some gutters and had a cookout. Well, technically I helped clean gutters. I didn't actually clean gutters myself, but I helped clean gutters. I had a cookout. I also went for a half-mile walk. So, yay for exercise and working? Maybe.
Me, I spent Saturday because we couldn't do Angel Grove this week because we were busy, so we're doing the audio commentary. Sometimes it's week, me and Trevor. So instead, I just went out with some friends from my college and got drunk. And then the day we celebrated my Father's Day with my dad and had sloppy joes and stuff like that for him. And we watched baseball on TV.
Yes. I will give a spoiler for the shout-out section at the end of the show. Shout out to all the dads out there.
Especially one special dad out there, and you know who you are. I'm not talking about my dad. And I'm not talking about John's dad either. I'm talking about Stan Lee's dad. Because if it wasn't for Stan Lee's dad, Stan Lee would have never been born. As we all know, without Stan Lee, the Marvel Universe would have never existed.
I never would have existed either. So, yeah. Okay, Spider-Man. Thank you very much.
You believe those things about the how Ditko ripped off Spider-Man from some children's Halloween costume in the 50s. Which it does look like the Spider-Man suit. But
or you believe those claims that Jack Kirby made that he came up with the Marvel Universe all in one night.
Jack Kirby thinks he created the whole DC universe, and he didn't start working the DC till the 70s.
Jack Kirby, I don't know what was going on with that guy, but yes, Jack Kirby made some very ridiculous claims. So Yeah, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we do have some news to talk about. We haven't talked about news in in the current timeline, it's been like 2 months since we've done an episode talking about news, but it's only been about 5 episodes. Because to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of big news since. Is that a spider crawling up my wall? No, that's just a. I don't know what that is. It's not a spider though.
Spider last week, it was pretty weird. Normally, at least upstairs here, we hardly get no spiders. Maybe every once in a while, I'll see an ant, on the windowsill or something, or a bee would somehow get through the window in the summer. But yeah, this time I saw 3 or 4 actually kind of big spiders, and some people in my city have got sick from spider bites. So I had to be extra careful when I saw the spider and get it out of my room as quickly as possible.
Yes. So we do have a little bit of news tonight, and there's actually been a pretty big piece of news that's come out in the past 24 hours, actually. And I think we're gonna hit that up first. According to I don't know who broke the news first, but I read it on CBR, Comic Book Resources. For those of you who may not know what CBR stands for, Comic Book Resources. Comic Book Resources decided to report this morning that Miles Morales is getting his own solo book, just entitled Spider-Man, when the all-new, all-different Marvel starts up. That's a mouthful. All new, all different Marvel. I really don't like that title. But
well, if you go
whatever.
by Tom Brumut, he's calling it the new MU because that doesn't sound anything like the new 52. No, that's completely original by Marvel.
The new MU. It's almost the exact same amount of syllables. Oh wait, it actually is the same exact amount of syllables. New 52, the new MU. Are we seeing the connection here?
But there is no connection because Marvel doesn't reboot, just continues with character development, except when we want to get rid of a character's marriage.
Ooh, shots fired. All right. So Miles Morales is getting his own series, simply entitled Spider-Man. We're going back to the Todd McFarlane days, adjectiveless Spider-Man. It's going to be written by Brian Michael Bendis, who has basically done most of the character's work. He created Miles Morales, and he's been writing Miles Morales for the past 4 years. And it's going to be mainly drawn by artist Sarah Pacelli, who also started off work on Miles series. Her other credits include the Spider-Man miniseries, where Peter Parker and Miles Morales teamed up. That was released back in 2012, I believe it was. The series is going to focus on Miles being quote unquote.
That was like a couple months before Superior, because some people were speculating if the main continuity Miles that Peter looks up on the internet was going to be the Superior Spider-Man. Because I remember that was one of the big leading rumors of who it was going to be.
Yeah, I don't think I was in the fandom at that point. And then a quote from Brian Michael Bendis is that he doesn't want this to be Spider-Man with an asterisk. This is the Spider-Man for adults of color, kids of color, and everybody of color. And it's basically it's the Spider-Man that's appealing to the quote unquote minority groups. And I say minority groups without trying to be respectful. Hopefully, I didn't just offend someone. I'm sure I did.
You always offend everybody. You can say I love rainbows, and then you offend the people who don't love rainbows.
I know. I'm sure I offended someone. I'm literally, no offense meaning. So yes, it is going to be Miles Morales is going to be quote unquote the Spider-Man. And Peter Parker is going to be his mentor throughout this series. There is no official confirmation yet on whether or not Peter Parker will or will not still be Spider-Man during this time, or whether or not Peter Parker will still have his own Amazing Spider-Man title. I would bet money on the table right now that he will be in an Amazing Spider-Man title. I would bet money right now. But we'll talk about that as things go on. But first off, I guess we'll just get general thoughts on this. James, what are your general thoughts on Miles Morales becoming Spider-Man?
Well, if you go on Ranger Board, which I know is a weird forum, but there is a comic book section on there. Once this news broke, I said, when somebody said, why are they calling this adjectiveless Spider-Man? I go, because don't you get it? The Ultimate Universe is no more, so he's no longer the Ultimate Spider-Man. He's just Spider-Man. Get it? And it's like, And then the person who posted after I said that, 'cause I was being sarcastic, and what you say at the internet, you know, when you're being sarcastic, you know, nobody knows, and you probably offend somebody. The person goes, "No, I get that, but what I mean is, you know, this is going to confuse people because it's just Spider-Man. Why not Miles Morales Spider-Man or add some adjective? Because somebody's just going to think that it's Spider-Man. It might even get like, they're saying Peter Parker, what the fuck is this? And, you know, never read a comic again, which is going a lot crazy, but I can see the point. And, yeah, like I said, it doesn't really bother me because I get why they did it, because there's no more Ultimate Universe. So Ultimate Spider-Man is now just Spider-Man. But at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, they should have called it Miles Morales Spider-Man. Like, because it'll get the point across that this is the Miles book to people. And a lot of people are really jumping the gun on the whole, this is the definitive Spider-Man book, Bendis is saying, and all that stuff about how, oh, he's the everyman Spider-Man, because I guess Peter Parker all these years being the everyman Spider-Man was just a lie, I guess, according to Marvel. But it could be a good or a bad thing, because let's face it, if this is the one in the Avengers, I can see their point. That this is the, if you're reading Avengers, and Miles looks like he's a part of the Avengers post Secret Wars, then it makes sense that, you know, his book will be the definitive, like, one for crossovers and stuff like that. The one thing that really makes me happy is the whole Peter's his mentor thing, because that at least makes Miles still have that kind of thing where his driving force in his book was always being in Peter's shadow. And now to have a Peter Parker, an adult Peter Parker, who is saying, you don't got to be in my shadow, and mentor him and make him the Spider-Man that he is in the book. I love that. That's so that's actually pretty great that instead of being in Peter's shadow, Peter is actually going to teach him in this book and actually say, no, don't do that. No, don't do this. Oh, next time you fight Scorpion, web his tail when you're doing this kick. He hates that or something like that. Like, that could actually be something really cool. And other than Spider-Girl, we haven't really ever seen that with Spider-Man. Because other times they would even play it off that the new teen heroes are even cooler than him. Like in that one issue of Amazing a few years ago where he, with the Young Avengers, where they're calling out every, I guess you could say, plot hole with Peter. Like, why don't you make money off your web shooters and all that stuff? And then Peter's just like an idiot treats his class of superheroes. And it's like, guys, he has experience now. He's an Avenger. At least try to write him somehow competent with this. Miles, hopefully, especially with Bendis, will get that. And the other thing is the whole fact they're saying this is the all-ages Spider-Man book. That leads me to believe that maybe there is a slim possibility that some way the marriage is staying intact with the new continuity. Because they are saying that this is the cool young Spider-Man book. This is the cool one for the kids. Which means, well, then what's going to be left for Amazing? Peter Parker Industries and a Mary Peter or Mary Jane. That's the one I'm figuring in. That, oh, yeah, the older Spider-Man fans, they can have Amazing with Peter and Mary as a company. But all the cool kids should read, you know, adjectiveless. You know what I mean? And
I wish that I could be like the cool kids. Sorry. Echo Smith.
And the last thing is the logo that's on the poster. I love it how we're bringing back adjectiveless Spider-Man. Do we put a logo like that 90s, that cool 90s logo that was on the cartoons in the 90s Spider-Man books that had that Spider-Man used, the original adjectiveless? No. Did we use the logo that McFarlane had? This year is the 25th anniversary of McFarlane's issue #1 that sold 1 million copies in like the first month. A comic book record that obviously still stands to this day. No. What do? We take Web of Spider-Man logo, the original 80s Web of Spider-Man logo, and just erase Web of and say, there you go. Like, what's why use the Web of Spider-Man logo?
That's how we do it in 2015, man. That's how we roll. All right.
Use Web of. Why don't you just use the old 70s Peter Parker and the Spectacular Spider-Man and just replace Peter Parker with Miles' name there?
Because that would make too much freaking sense. Yes.
Amazing. Watch. The first issue of Amazing will say Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man. You watch.
Yeah, I'll give my general thoughts on this. To be honest, I have no problem with this. I think a Miles Morales book where he is being mentored by Peter Parker would be very, very interesting. And I agree with James. I really like the idea of Peter mentoring Miles in that way, especially now that they're in the same universe together. It's a really interesting concept that I'm really interested to see where they go with it. Am I going to pick this book up? To be honest, I haven't decided yet. what I'm probably gonna do is like when the first issue comes out, go to my comic shop, kind of flip through it, and if the visuals strike me, then I'll probably pick it up. But I mean, there's still probably plenty of time before this book comes out because as we will discuss later, not a lot of books are going to be coming out in the near future. So everything's going to be kind of pushed back a bit.
It's 2006/2007 again.
So I'm gonna have plenty of time to decide whether or not I'm gonna buy this Miles Morales book. But to be honest, this book, I mean, we don't know a whole lot about it yet. I really like that cover that they released with the logo on it. Unfortunately, we cannot show you the cover due to the constraints of technology. I don't know how to do split screens, so
I could probably pull it up on my phone, but my phone's all in the other side of the room, and I don't want to actually unplug my charger again.
Yeah, I don't want to use the Wi-Fi on this because I'm already using the Wi-Fi on this to do this show, so I'd rather not risk it. So we cannot we unfortunately can't show you the cover. And besides, if you're listening back to this later on iTunes, unfortunately you won't be able to see the cover anyway. I'll try to put the cover as like the image, the little thumbnail image for this YouTube video. I'll try. No promises though. But so yeah,
first, can I ask you a question, Jonathan?
Yes, go ahead.
What do you think about the spoiler, which is on the cover, which is Parker Industries clearly there in the background having an advertisement in Times Square? Or at least I think that's fair because all the advertisements with the billboards.
To be honest, a lot of people are jumping on that, and for pretty understandable reasons because of Parker Industries' quote unquote prominence in Amazing Volume 3. I use the term prominence very loosely. A lot of people are jumping on that. I really don't care. Like, I really don't care. I don't care one way or the other about Parker Industries. I like the idea of Peter Parker, a mature Peter Parker owning his own company. And if that's what they can give us in the all new, all different Amazing Spider-Man, that's not an official title, and that book has not been officially announced, but I'm going to call it right now. That's what it's going to be. If they can give us that in this new ASM title, or maybe as a subplot in this title, I'd be fine with it. A mature Peter Parker handling his own business, bring it on. That's not a plot that offends me. I know some people say, "Oh, well, it takes away his everyman status." I disagree with that. I don't think he has to be. I don't think he has to not. I don't think not handling science is how he is an everyman. To be honest, I think the everyman term is used a bit too much. Yeah, I have no problem with the Parker Industries stuff. It's in my opinion, I think it's a good story. To be honest, I don't really have a lot of problems with this book. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is going to be the main Spider-Man book." They're getting rid of Peter. We don't know that for sure yet, and to be honest, I don't think they will. Does anyone remember?
Peter's on the promo pics.
Exactly. That's just what I was about to mention. It's like the all new, all different teaser featured a Peter Parker Spider-Man. The Spider characters on that teaser were, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Peter Parker Spider-Man, or what looks like Peter Parker Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, and was it 2099 who was also on the teaser?
2099, but he was on the second one. He was on the one with all the X-Men. Pretty much the whole kind of bait and switch fooled you, where they're like, "Oh, look at none of the Fox movie people. There's no X-Men. There's no Fantastic Four." And then they had the bait and switch to fooled you, where the next promo pic was all of them on a new Marvel universe, and it had Iron Man, and I think 2099 was on that one too, where he's swinging in the background.
Yeah, so I would not be concerned. At this point, I'm not really concerned that we're not going to have a Peter Parker Amazing Spider-Man title. I think that's pretty much a given that yes, we will have this guy right here. We will have Spider-Man. So I'd say.
Just interrupt you for a second, John. I'm sorry about that, but it's like going on what you said about people complaining about how this is taking away Peter's everyman status with the Parker Industry. Well, the press release for this issue kind of maps it out that they want this to be the everyman Spider-Man book. So again, I don't see the problem because they couldn't just announce that it's just Miles's book and Peter's just the mentor character, from here on out. or for at least a couple of years. But odds are he's going to get the Amazing book, which if they're promoting this as the young, hip, everyman Spider-Man, that means he's probably going to have Parker Industry for a while, and maybe he will be married. I mean, so maybe Marvel did listen to the fans and said, oh, we'll take the main continuity, we'll make that Ultimate, and we'll make Amazing the book that will cater to the fans that want the marriage, and then make a shitload of money off of it.
Not a bad plan, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a bad plan. I mean, if you want to make Miles Morales the young, hip Spider-Man, go for it. As long as I can still have my Peter Parker. As long as I can have Peter Parker. And if he's married to Mary Jane, I mean, personally, here's the thing. I am not really one way or the other on the marriage. If he is married, great. If he's not married, you know, whatever. I mean, the thing that I didn't like about the post-marriage era is that Mary Jane was such a non-factor in the books, and she was at times written very poorly. And so I'm glad to see her in the books, you know, in some form. And the fact that she is married to Peter is very good, and I very much appreciate, you know, that the marriage is back in some form, even though we may not be getting another issue of this for several weeks.
Or months, even depending on some reports.
Who knows? But so
yeah, but I just love that too, because I have always been a stance of I'm a fan of the marriage, because look, personally, as a 90s kid with all the cartoons and the Raimi movies and Ultimate and video games and the books, I grew up with a married Peter Parker and Mary Jane. But I always took the stance of if he's not married, I'm okay. Just write the characters competently, because I didn't read Spider-Man for a wedding ring. That is true. But write the characters competently. But it's kind of funny with Renew Your Vows, Peter and Mary Jane gets ring on their fingers again, and they're written fucking competently. So maybe I was wrong this whole time.
Who knows? You know, and that is true. You know, in the 90s, they were married in the in the 90s show. They got married in season 5. Water clones aside. Water clones aside.
Well, the thing I always take a stance on when I pointed out like they were married in the cartoon, I always say, well, yeah, well, they were also married in the first episode of Unlimited. So yeah, my point still stands. He was married in a cartoon to Mary Jane.
And in the Raimi films, that was clearly where they were headed down, I would say. I mean,
in my headcanon, they got married. Like that's my whole thing.
In my headcanon, they got married pretty much right after Spider-Man 3. Yeah, I'd say, you know, it's understandable for a lot of people to like the marriage, and I like the marriage as well. Am I exactly, oh, he has to be married, or, you know, this book is crap? I disagree with that stance. I don't think that he has to be married in order for the book to be good. I like the characters to be written well. That's a good thing. But you know, that's a good thing. But ultimately, you know, the marriage isn't exactly a big swaying factor for me. It's kind of like my frosting on my cupcakes. And I'm saying that because I had a cupcake earlier today and it was very delicious. So yeah, getting back to the Miles Morales topic, because we kind of skewed off on Spider marriage talk there. I don't really have a problem with this Miles Morales book. I do kind of wish they would call it Miles Morales Spider-Man, because the whole, as he said, just calling it Spider-Man, people are going to say, "Oh, this is the main Spider-Man book." I mean, we don't know if it's meant to be the main Spider-Man book. Bendis says, "Oh, this is the Spider-Man." Who knows? Maybe they're trying to promote him as the Spider-Man and just leave, you know, Peter Parker out to basically give Peter Parker, you know, to the fans. And if they're going to make Amazing Spider-Man basically just a book for the fans, I would hope that it really is a book for the fans and we actually like get some of the stuff we've been clamoring for years on end.
And another thing to add on to that, Bendis' whole stance of this is the book. Like I said, could just be, you know, he's talking about this is the Miles is in the Avengers. So if you want to read what's going on with the main overarching plot of which is the Marvel Universe, which the Avenger book has always been, you know, like kind of like Justice League for DC. If you want to know what's exactly going on in the world, issue by issue, you read the Avengers. So if Miles is that character that's going to tie into that week, month in and month out, then yeah, his book will be. It's still not the flagship. Amazing's going to be the flagship, or who knows? For all we know, Amazing could be the Renew Year's Vows universe. For all we know, it's like, oh, in an alternative universe, Peter and Mary Jane are married, and here we are, issue 1, The Amazing Spider-Man. And then Spider-Man, which is the main continuity one where Peter is now focused on Parker Industry and Miles took over for him. For all we know. We don't know.
It is a possibility. There's so little that we know about this at this point that, unfortunately, all the stuff we're saying here is pure fan speculation and based on very little factual information. So maybe we should take everything we say with a grain of salt. Well, you should probably do that anyway. We don't exactly know everything that's going on at this point. So at this point, I guess we can just say, I'd say both of us are fairly positive towards the Miles Morales book. James, are you going to pick it up by any chance?
I might, because the main reason why I was never really a fan of Miles' book and I never really picked it up, aside for an issue here or there, it's because of the fact that, in my opinion, just the overarching Ultimate Universe has stopped appealing to me after Ultimatum. I was disgusted by Ultimatum, and I'm like, you're promoting this as the end of this universe, and you killed off 90% of this universe. Why should I give a damn about any book after this? But I continued reading it for Ultimate Spider-Man, and then like a year later, they kill him off, and it's like, now you killed off the only lingering thing that I gave a shit about, which was Ultimate Peter. So I stopped reading, and I had no problems with Miles, and I have heard some things about him and the character and his stories, and I think they actually sound pretty good, and maybe later I'll go back and read them. And my point is, now that it's out of the Ultimate Universe and it's kind of in whatever the new post-Secret Wars is, now I can probably read him with a fresh new set of eyes and everything, and I can really appreciate this character. Because like I said, it's even going to be a little bit better, because instead of just being the character who's in the shadow of Peter Parker, now he's just the kid version of Spider-Man who Peter's going to mentor. And I think that can really work well. As you see, there might even be scenes where Miles is like, doing something, and then Peter's like, no, you don't do that. You do this. And then Miles could snap back at him. Well, my Peter Parker wouldn't have done that. He died for honor or something like that. Like, I could see them doing stuff like that. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be an interesting dynamic to see Miles interact with a Peter Parker who is not from his universe. And I do agree. I'm on the fence about this book right now, as I've said. I don't think it's a bad idea. Am I going to pick it up? I'm not sure. I'm probably going to need a little bit more information to be swayed one way or the other on it. But I don't think that the concept in general is bad. I don't really have any negative feelings towards this book. It's sounding pretty good to me. I'm not sure if I'll pick it up yet. And plus, it's probably going to be $3.99, and so I'm not really sure if I'm going to have that money, because I really don't. I don't like to spend a lot of money if I don't have to. I spend all my money on Amazing Spider-Man mainly because I have a legitimate illness where I have to pick up Amazing Spider-Man. I have to do it. My body will not accept that I have not picked up an issue of Amazing Spider-Man. It won't accept it. The
one thing I'm trying to figure out now, because Ultimate Peter was obviously still alive this whole time. They revealed later on, because I did read that issue where they brought him back, where he fights the Goblin again and he comes back from the dead, that arc. And the one thing I'm wondering is he going to be alive? Because I haven't read Ultimate End. Because like I said, I've been mostly beginning the main Secret Wars and Amazing, and then whenever fucking X-Men 92 comes out, I'm picking that up because I loved that cartoon when I was a kid. And those are going to be the three that I'm going to be following because of budgetary reasons. And so I'm wondering, because I haven't been reading Ultimate End, if Ultimate Peter's going to be alive too. Because then you could actually have some moments where 616 Peter is mentoring Miles, and then Miles behind his back goes to meet some place, and I was saying, oh, here's the still alive Ultimate Peter. And that would be kind of interesting, as you got these two different point of views for these two different Peters pulling Miles in different directions almost.
Yeah, that would be an interesting concept. And so I think that's pretty much enough talk with the Miles Morales stuff. I mean, we're both pretty positive towards the book. We're not sure if we'll pick it up yet, but we're open to be swayed in either direction. And so the next story we're going to talk about, we've been alluding to this for probably the past half an hour. I don't actually know how long this episode's been going on, but basically what's happening is that Secret Wars has been delayed. I don't exactly know the details of this.
Nobody does.
Basically, the main Secret Wars book has had to be pushed back for reasons officially unknown. And so, Amazing Spider-Man: Renew Your Vows, the second issue's release date is possibly up in the air. I've heard about three different dates for it. And basically, like half of the Marvel Universe's books, or at least half the Marvel Universe, is also being pushed back because of the Secret Wars delays. And
Gee,
so
that's
basically,
so familiar. Where have I heard that from before?
oh man, maybe it was the time when this guy took off his mask, and decided to punch Tony Stark in the face.
Maybe. Maybe.
Oh man, what was that called? Oh man.
Why do I feel like I'm 16 again and it's year 2006?
Oh man, why do I feel like I'm 9 years old? Oh my gosh, was I 9 years old then? Oh my gosh. I'm 18 now. Dang. All right. All right, so yes, Secret Wars has been delayed. Almost James and I were talking before the show. We happened to point out that the last time a big major Marvel event got delayed and pushed every single other book back, it ended up leading to the dissolution of the marriage, the dissolving of the marriage. Now, when the marriage is brought back together, the same thing happens. It seems that the process has come full circle.
It's just so hilarious because this didn't happen during Secret Invasion. This didn't happen during Siege. This didn't happen during Original Sin. But it's the two things that are going to shake the ground of the Marvel Universe and change it forever. Civil War and Secret Wars. And they get delayed and they fuck everything up, it seems like.
And so we originally, when we did the last episode, we expected to have another issue of Renew Your Vows to review this week. Apparently, that's not going to happen for at least another 3. The current release date that I've read from Marvel.com says that Renew Your Vows #2 is coming out on July 8th. That may be false, because if you go on basically any of the comic book message boards, you find that apparently it's not coming out till August.
I mean,
and then if you
not to throw any other Spider-Man sites or whatever underneath the bus, but I know that there was one other where they were saying that all 4 issues are coming out in August now, and literally it's to the point that literally it's gonna be like, if I go to my comic book store and the issue's out, I'll buy it. That's the point, because I don't know what date it's coming out, so I'm just gonna walk in aimlessly every Wednesday and, is it on the shelf? Nope. Is it on the shelf? Nope. Because there's so many conflicting points. They're all coming out in August, or no, it's just gonna be delayed a month, or it's only delayed by a few weeks. Calm down, or who knows? I mean, because the same thing did happen in Civil War. A few weeks delayed. Oh, don't worry, just a week or 2 delay all the books. Ended up being like, 2 months later, and you're still waiting for issue 4 or whatever it was. Bro, it seemed like it was literally that. It was like the issue comes out in September. No, wait, end of October. No, it's going to come out in Thanksgiving. Oh, no, Christmas the issue came out, or whatever it was. Like, this happened too during Civil War, where they said, oh, it's going to be in a few weeks, don't worry, and then it ended up being like a few months.
To be honest, I mean, I'm basically making fun of this for the point of parody. I mean, if they have to push the books back if they're pushing the books back in order to ensure good quality in the books, go for it. I will be here when the books come out. I don't think I'm going anywhere.
It's comical to me because they didn't learn their goddamn lesson from Civil War. I mean, literally, this same thing happened with Civil War, and here we are 10 years later, and they did not learn a fucking goddamn thing. They didn't think, okay, we're hiring a big-time artist to draw this. Same thing that happened with Steve McNiven with Civil War. They brought in the best of the best of the best writer they had on staff. And because it took them forever to draw every goddamn panel in this big event, it took forever for it to come out. And what ended up happening again right now with Secret Wars? The artist is delayed because he can't draw everything in this 2 weeks span they want every issue to come out. when maybe common sense would have said, because they knew this event was going on at least a year or two, a couple years, because it's whenever they got Hickman to do his Avengers run. He was hinting at that's only issue 1 of his run. So they couldn't have got the artist to start like a year before or something like that to make sure that they had every single goddamn page ready to go.
Hey man, this is Marvel. We don't make sense. I mean, it's not even this is Marvel. This is the comic book. You know, this is comic books. We don't make sense here.
I don't know. The DC version of this Convergence ended a month ago. They got their things out in time. Marvel didn't, so
who knows? It's just so everything's basically delayed now. Maybe we might actually have a new Spider-Man movie before we actually get the new Amazing Spider-Man title. Because who knows? Maybe Renew Your Vows won't finish for another 2 years. Who knows? We might get an issue every 6 months.
Well, think about it. The first issue of Civil War. What number was that? It was like what 30 what?
532, something like that.
532. Okay. The first issue of Brand New Day, which came out like January 2008, was 546. That's 2 years, and they only got around 10 goddamn issues of Amazing out because of delays.
This is what Spider-Man does when he hears about this. He frowns.
Because that was one of the things about that really fucked up those early issues of Brand New Day, which if we continue doing on these classic reviews of Brand New Day, and we get up to that Snow issue, it's clear when they said that we were supposed to be out by summer. Summer was supposed to be the first issue you got was in summer of 2007. That was back before all the Civil War delays, and then the delays that happened because of Back in Black, because of World War Hulk, and the delays that ended up affecting on what would happen later on with Secret Invasion. So the book got delayed a couple of times, or even during Back in Black, because of Marvel events. And then so when you get that first issue with you went 3 times a month, you ended up with an issue when for a couple months now, Doctor Strange wasn't in the Avengers no more, but yet Peter's eating Fruit Loops at Avengers headquarters, and Doctor Strange is there as a full team member. Because they were delayed so much.
That's what happened back in 2007, 2008. And now here we are in 2015, and basically the same thing's happening. I mean, like I said, I mean,
it's just comical, because if you would have told me, if I right now would have traveled for time and told 16-year-old me, hey, Marvel's having a big event, it got delayed, and Spider-Man's married, I would have said, no shit, that's what's going on now.
Yep, I mean, I don't want to bash anyone who may or may not, who may or may not be causing this, but I mean, if they're doing this to make sure that the books are quality, you know what? I'll be here when the books come out. I just find this whole thing so humorous.
It's double humorous for me and anybody who remembers 2006, what happened with Civil War. Because it's like they did not learn their goddamn lesson. History repeated itself. 10 years later, and the same goddamn... I know I'm repeating like a broken record, but it's just hilarious to me. The same goddamn thing happened. History repeated itself.
What did Albert Einstein say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That's basically what's happening here.
That's basically Marvel Comics for the last 10 years.
That's basically the Brand New Day formula. All right, so yeah, we're not going to spend too much time on that, but so if we don't review, if you're watching this show or listening back to it later, or watching it back later and saying, "Man, why aren't they talking about Renew Your Vows?" It's because we don't have it. I mean, it really is. It's because we don't have it yet.
If you want me to talk about Renew Your Vows, I can pull out my copy of issue 1 again for you. But
yeah, we could.
I don't want this show to seem like it's on a repeat week in and week out for 6 months or whatever the fuck it's gonna end up being.
So yeah, it's not that we're not reading it. We don't have it. It's not out. So yeah, we apologize about that. It's
I
just
dare you to go on some other Spider-Man podcast or web show or whatever to see their review, because guess what? They don't have it either.
yeah, it's like, man, what is this book that bad? No one's talking about it. Nope, it's just not out. It's non-existent as far as we're concerned.
This goes down in history as the greatest comic book of all time, and everybody knows every detail about it. And they're like, wow, these people think that nobody would notice what happened. But we all know, because it was ended up being the greatest thing Marvel has ever done, and it completely changed the whole landscape of comics for the history of the universe.
All right. So I guess moving off of that news topic, we've just got we're going to talk very briefly about some Spider-Man movie news. We don't really have anything really official yet. And I think James is going to take the reins on this one because he's got most of the information about it, at least I think. We're down to, apparently Marvel and Sony have been screen testing actors in Atlanta near the set of Captain America Civil War. They still have not officially announced that he's in Civil War. They need to, because every single person knows it. Or maybe that's just why they haven't announced it, because they're like, everyone knows it already. We don't even need it. We don't even need to spend time on this right now.
I think it's because they're saving it until they get the actor.
Yeah, it's probably gonna.
Because the first press release for Civil War that Marvel did was they named off every goddamn actor who was in the movie minus Spider-Man. So I think what they're going to do, they're going to do a second press release when they announce who the actor is playing Spider-Man. Like it might even be the same thing we got before. It's just now, I'm playing teenage Peter Parker who doesn't know what side he's going to be on, Tony or Steve. He's going to be the Amazing Spider-Man, played by blah, 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 who's famous for insert movie or TV show here on the credit thing.
Yeah, so I think based on various sources, such as, I don't even remember what the sources are. James would have to point me to that one, but I think at this point the rumor is that they're down to the final two actors here. I don't even know. There's so many freaking conflicting reports.
There's so because this is the problem with Sony and Marvel sharing the character, and why other people and other Spider-Man things are bullshit when they said Sony had no power. Well, obviously they do. It's the whole fact that Marvel has their pick and a second choice if they can't get their pick, and then Sony's like, nope, we want this guy. But we're Disney and Marvel, and we want this guy. Nope, we want this guy. And that seems to be the only thing that's stopping us from getting the announcement, is both sides are already butting heads on who's playing Spider-Man. Because both don't cave in.
It's like it's a civil war.
No, but I just find it funny because so many people who said Marvel doesn't have Marvel has all the power. Sony can't say shit. And here, what's holding them from announcing new Spider-Man? Sony and Marvel can't agree on who to fucking play the character.
Yeah, because here's the thing. As was pointed out in that press release, people, Sony still has final creative control. They can't lie about that because it's actually like legal and stuff. They can't lie about that. So yes, Sony still has final creative control.
Feige can't come out in an interview and say that Marvel, oh yeah, Sony's just there as a figurehead name because they technically own the rights, but we're having all the creative. There's the names and the credits. No, they can't do that, people. Sony, it was smart in this deal. They're not like Fox, who are just holding on with an iron grip on their Marvel properties. Sony's like, since day one, has been like, yeah, we want to make our new movies seem like they could fit in with yours. They're smart because they knew that this deal could always come up and make money both sides. They made sure that the deal always stated they still own the character. Majority of the money Spider-Man gets in the MCU goes to them. When he gets a solo movie, that's a Sony solo Spider-Man movie. Just, it's the same guy who's in the Marvel one.
And it's technically in the same universe. So, yes, I mean, to be honest,
they can cast the whole fucking cast of the Avengers, and it's like it's like free money for them.
And they're the to be honest,
power, and people didn't even realize it. They're the smart businessmen. Because if Disney wanted, they could have bought the character back outright, but they would have to pay Sony.
And to be honest with you, I do trust Sony's casting. Look who they gave us last time.
But
Look who
nobody
they
liked
gave
him,
us.
Jonathan. He was an asshole, remember? He was
Tobey
an
Maguire
asshole.
wasn't.
He was too old. He could play a good Spider-Man, but not a good Peter Parker.
Yes, because apparently a Peter Parker who broods all the time and, actually has problems. Apparently that's not a good Peter Parker. Ooh. Yeah, okay, I totally did that for parody. I apologize if I just offended anyone. That was meant as a joke.
It's just kind of funny, though, when I think about that, too, though, like I said. Because so many people were saying Sony doesn't own shit. This is the biggest joke. I'm so funny. I love it. Even posting Photoshop pictures of Ultimate and Captain America carrying the dead body of Ultimate Peter Parker. And then adding the thought balloon, I'm taking you home, kid, as they're walking away from the Sony logo. And it's like, guys, don't you read? Sony still owns the fucking character. They get final creative control on this. And this is what's stopping, literally, the whole goddamn production of Civil War. Ironically enough, the whole production of Civil War could be delayed because Sony and Marvel can't fucking agree on who's to play Spider-Man.
That's amazing.
Final control, and they're saying, we don't want your guy, we want this guy.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, so yes, for those people who say that Sony doesn't, for those people who say that no, Sony's just going to go back into a corner, let Master Kevin Feige have it. No, yeah, I love Kevin Feige. I respect Kevin Feige. He's done some great work with Marvel Studios. He's done, fantastic work.
He's the Stan Lee of
Kevin Feige
of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is the Stan Lee of it. There's no denying.
Absolutely, no question. Love Kevin Feige. But for people who say, "Oh yes, Sony just needs to shut up and listen to Kevin Feige," nope, I don't think they do.
Kevin Feige was on Spider-Man 3 before he went to jump to Iron Man. He was a producer of Spider-Man 3. People, he's not immune to bad movies.
Wasn't he? And also, didn't he? And to be honest, neither is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did you ever see the Incredible Hulk or Thor: The Dark World? In fairness,
I like those movies.
Okay, in fairness, I have not seen Thor: The Dark World. It's just that Jan, our podcast co-host, Jan, if you're out there listening to this, please tell me you're all right because he has just dropped off the face of the earth. Please tell me you're all right.
I don't want to joke about this, but we're literally to the point that we think you're dead. So please tell us you're not.
Literally, please tell us you're all right. We do not know where you are, and we are legitimately getting worried.
This ain't a joke. This is legit. Message us. We want to make sure you're safe, dude.
We are legitimately getting worried. Yes, and he once told me, yeah, I didn't really like Thor: The Dark World, and so I'm just really going by Jan's opinion. But I did see The Incredible Hulk, and I just didn't like it. Probably because I watched it on FX, and so it had commercials in it, and that broke up the flow. But I didn't like that movie very much.
Hulk. I saw that in the theaters, and I loved it. Granted, the only comparison you had to it was the Ang Lee Hulk, so that's literally like comparing crap to gold. So I could see, obviously you're going to see how my opinion might have been swayed by that, but I thought it was actually a pretty awesome movie.
Yeah, so at this moment, we do not have an official casting for Spider-Man, but the final some of the final contenders for the role are Tom Holland, Charlie Rowe, I believe his name is. We're not sure if Asa Butterfield is still in contention for it.
He's out because they said it sounded those two and somebody else, and it's not him.
Yeah, so
because there's that third choice, but it's more of a wild card. If we can't get our first pick, he's our second pick guy.
Yeah, so basically we don't know who's being cast yet, but we just find it funny that basically Sony and Marvel are butting heads over this. So, and to be honest, I trust Marvel. I trust Sony. If they want to cast someone, whoever they cast, I will wish my best of luck to. Sony gave us Tobey Maguire. They gave us Andrew Garfield. I have full faith that with working with Marvel, they can give us another great Spider-Man. So whoever they pick, I have faith in them, and I will wish them the best of luck.
It just proved my point that Sony does have ultimate control, and people have been ignoring that since the minute this news broke. Because look at this. They do got all the power because it's them saying, no, we want our pick. That can ultimately delay Captain America 3. Because people can say, well, then they can just veto the contract and Sony's fucked. Well, so is this movie because they have scripts. They have suits already being made for Spider-Man, according to them. They have, rumor has it, there's at least references to Spider-Man and Ant-Man. They're planning the solo spin-off movie. And I'm sure they got plans for him all the way up until Avengers. So if Sony says, no, we're not doing this until we get our pick, all of that shit that Marvel's already starting to set up could be done.
And they could have to, and if they veto the contract and that stuff isn't taken out,
it hurts Marvel as much as it would hurt Sony.
Ooh.
Granted, it might end up hurting Sony more, and Marvel might eventually get the character back, like fully, officially, legally. But they're already, weeks away from, what is it, like weeks, maybe a month or so away from filming.
And plus, they can just say, hey, Andrew Garfield, come over here.
They're not going to do that because they want the 15-year-old kid being bit by the spider. They want Amazing 15. They don't want issue 200.
Hey, Andrew Garfield, come over here. We're sorry. Please take us. Please come back. Baby, come back.
They want Peter to be the age he was in Amazing Fantasy 15, not the age he was in Civil War.
I'm kidding. And once again, I know people are going to attack me because I bring up Andrew Garfield. To be honest, once again, I'll stress this again. I do this for the point of parody. I love Andrew Garfield. I'm not that obsessive. All right.
Yeah,
let's move off.
The guy who said that he wanted to switch minds with him and become the superior Andrew Garfield.
I never said that, man. You put that you
never denied it, though. You even agreed to me because with me and Jan about it because you said, "Oh, then I could date Emma Stone."
I'm just gonna dig myself further and further into this hole if I keep talking about this. So I'm not even gonna try.
Do you want to just jump into whatever the issues that we're gonna be reviewing tonight?
Yeah, let's hit up the classic review section. I'm probably gonna have to end this soon anyway because I'm sure my parents are trying to sleep because they have to get up at 6 a.m. to go to work. I don't have to because I just graduated high school. I'm technically not in college yet, and yeah, I don't have a job. I don't have a summer job.
So you're me, 2000. You're 2009 me.
Yeah, basically.
And right now, 2015 me is back in college because education is important, Jonathan. So you better get to college. Because I had a hard time finding a job. I found one job in this tough economy during the 5 years, and it was not because of a lack of trying.
Actually, I have been to college already. I have my associates. I have my Associates of Arts degree, and I'm actually in the process of applying to a local university that has a very highly revered music education program. So I'm on top of that. Don't worry, buddy. I won't say the name of the unit.
You just have to show me up, don't you? I'm just in culinary school, still in first year. You just have to show me up, don't you? Just joking.
That's how it is, old man. All right.
Old man, I'm 25. I'm younger than the current Peter Parker in the comics.
All right, I'm not going to win this fight. Let's just keep going.
I'm Brandon A. Peter. I'm the 25-year-old Brandon A. Peter that was young and exciting when this thing came out.
All right, so as James alluded to there, we are going to be talking about the second story arc of Brand New Day, Amazing Spider-Man 549 through 551. This arc was a pretty significant one, mainly because it featured the first significant debut of the character Jackpot, and it also featured the debut of a new goblin, Menace. She's a female goblin.
Spoilers!
Ooh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Spoilers, because that's not revealed for like 40 plus issues.
It was like a year later.
Yeah, it was like a year later when they finally decided to say, "Oh yeah, spoilers: Lily Hollister is Menace."
It's like the best part about that is like I can see that brain trust me. Okay, let's do the. Hey, remember how crappy the It was like they were trying to outdo how shitty the Hobgoblin reveal was. How like literally 5 years before that, Roger Stern left. I was gonna say Tom DeFalco, but Tom DeFalco was the writer after Roger Stern. So I was gonna say DeFalco created Hobgoblin there for a second. Roger Stern, how he left, and in the book we left with, we got to reveal who Hobgoblin is. But Stern's over at DC with Superman, and we have no idea what he was gonna fucking do. Let's make it the one guy who people were predicting was the Green Goblin back in the 60s. Brilliant.
And then
months ago. We already killed them off a few months ago. Who cares?
And then Roger Stern comes back 10 years later and says, "Okay, look, this was the guy who was supposed to be the Hobgoblin." All right.
That shit. Here's the real guy.
All right. So, Amazing Spider-Man 549 through 551. Let me give the credits here. Credit where credit is due. Writer Mark Guggenheim, Salvador LaRocca on art and cover. Jason Keith on colors, VC's Corey Petit on letters, Stephanie Peru cover colors, assistant editor Tom Bredin, I'm assuming editor is Steve Wacker, and executive editor Tom Brevert.
Yep.
There we go for the credits on basically the whole arc. Basic summary of Amazing Spider-Man 549. Basically, Menace attacks a warehouse and basically destroys all the people in it in order to gain control of it as her little hideout. Meanwhile, Peter Parker is struggling to find a job and at really any money. And so he goes to the DB, which is now controlled by a man named Dexter Bennett. And it is the new Daily Bugle because, as we all know, in the previous arc, Marla Jameson sold it to Dexter Bennett. So at the DB, Dexter Bennett is saying, "Okay, we need photos of this new goblin, this new menace." And so he's like, anyone who gets the first person to get a clear photo gets a $10,000 bonus. And so Peter Parker's like, okay, I could use that money to buy more web fluid or to buy the ingredients to make more web fluid because I ran out of web fluid. And because this is brand new day, I have to be a loser and not be able to make any money whatsoever or have all these problems because, that's always what I've done in the previous 45 plus years. And so he goes out as Spider-Man to try to track down Menace. He ends up running into Jackpot, who is trying to take down some thugs, and they chase one into the subway where they actually eventually lose him. And Spider-Man says, "Hey, one of your powers would." Spider-Man says to Jackpot, "One of your powers wouldn't happen to be invincibility, would it?" "Why?" Because we're about to get hit by a subway train. Luckily, they managed to avoid. They managed to get onto the subway train and safely get to it. And they go to the warehouse to investigate. They go near the warehouse area to try to investigate Menace, but they end up running into, oh man, what's his name? Some blue cop dude who says, you're in Spider-Man, you're in
the Shield.
Who is it?
It's like the Blue Shield or something like that.
Yes, the Blue Shield, that's what his name is. He says, Spider-Man, you're under arrest for violating the Superhuman Registration Act. And that's basically where issue 549 ends. James, what are your overall thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man 549 before we get into the details of it?
I liked it when it came out. I still kind of like it. It's still a pretty good issue. You have the setting up the status quo of the new DB because I always love the twist is that you think, okay, the guy's just changing the name of the Daily Bugle, the DB, but his name is Dexter Bennett. So you kind of, his ego with how this boss is, you know what it really is. He's changed the name to Dexter Bennett and hoping nobody would catch on pretty much. I love it how Peter is like singing I think he's singing Superman's theme song. And then you realize, oh wait, wrong guy. And he starts going, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Like, I love that because, that is kind of, I love it whenever the comics actually brings up, the classic Spider-Man theme, And I like the whole kind of, it's classic Spider-Man humor of the U from the Daily Bugle logo, if it's getting tear down, almost falls and kills everybody. Peter catches it and is like, I won't be squashed by you. And then of course
because it's the U.
And of course, classic Spider-Man. Everybody's like staring, like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?"
You menace! You probably caused the sign to fall.
And then Peter's like, and that's how we do it here downtown, or is this technically Midtown? It's like that. That is classic Spider-Man humor. I got to give him credit for that. Guggenheim here. That is what Spider-Man would say. And then again, you got one of the big problems about One More Day. Peter's already like, I'm running out of webbing. I'm running out of webbing. Dude, you ran out of webbing just one issue ago.
Yes, just beating the loser. I'll wait for that. No, go ahead.
I got what you mean. Beating the loser. I don't know. Then you got the Dexter Bennett thing where he's firing people, and the people who he does keep, he doesn't remember their name. Because conveniently, all the people he fired are people we never fucking met before. Robbie, Betty, Peter, they all keep their job.
For now, at least.
I love it how concept art for Menace, I think this is concept art for Menace, on the top panel of the next page, is the artist rendering of eyewitnesses reports of what Menace looks like. I thought that was really kind of cute. I like how that same page confirms that Back in Black is somehow in continuity still, because it was still this time where people didn't know what the fuck was continuity and what wasn't. And then Bennett's holding up the last few issues of the Bugle, and one of them is Back in Black, Peter jumping off a building. What it say? Is he deadlier than ever, or something like that? Well, confirmed. Okay, at least some elements of Back in Black are still in continuity at the time. Now we know all of it is, except for them not being fucking married. The jackpot stuff are what I call the most dumbest red herring, and yes, pun intended, red herring in comic history. Let's introduce a character named Jackpot, who talks exactly like Mary Jane and has red hair and calls Spider-Man Tiger. Even saying the phrase at the end, "Face a tiger, you're under arrest." And then, spoilers, it's not fucking Mary Jane at all. We fooled you.
Yeah, okay.
Let's give every fucking clue to who this character is. Pointed to Mary Jane, only for them to eventually reveal, spoiler alerts, it's somebody who wasn't even fucking ever introduced.
Yeah, I think I'll go into my general thoughts on this issue. Overall, I like.
Can I just finish one point? Because there's one point I really wanted to make. And that's the art. The one thing I really loved about this issue too is the art, the LaRocca art. Because the one thing I love about LaRocca art is when you go for these 3 issues he did for Amazing, and even when he later on, like a year later, he did an Iron Man for a long run, his art style has that very realistic look to it. And the coolest thing about that was it almost felt like these were the movies. Like his Iron Man, like the way he drew Tony and the characters, looked like they could fit in as a comic book adaptation of the movie universe. And the same thing here. I mean, this looks just right out of a movie poster for the Raimi trilogy that was out at the time. I mean, the coloring, the way he drew the webbing, even the logo on the Spider-Man, it looks like the tie-in for the movies at the time. And I love that about his artwork. I thought that's just brilliant how he made the artwork so believable that it looks like it's like it's in the movie universes. Even when it's not, because clearly this is not the movie universe, because we got Harry, which is my only con of this book. They made a whole big deal about introducing a new creative cast. Lily Hollister, Carly Cooper. She's so perfect, didn't you hear? And bringing back Harry from the dead, only for, they're in what, 3 panels?
Yeah, so I think my general thoughts on ASM 549. Overall, I like the issue. I did have some problems with it that I'll get into. I agree with James. I like the art a lot. And I agree with basically all of his points on the realism of the art. I really, really like how he draws Spider-Man. I really love his Spider-Man design. And to be honest with you, I mean, we only get a little bit of a taste of her in this particular issue, but I like Menace a lot. I mean, I really like Menace. I like her design. I think it's a really intriguing design to look at. I think it's a very colorful design. I really like the color combination, the red, the gray, the yellow, and all that stuff. And so all that stuff's good. What I don't like about the issue Oh crap! Did I lose my connection? I really hope I didn't. What I don't like about the issue, I really don't like the fact that this issue goes so much out of its way to beat the loser status of Peter Parker into the ground even more. Mainly because whenever whenever we have Spider-Man saying, "Oh man, I'm out of web fluid,"
John,
but
John. Oh, back here.
what?
We're
What happened?
losing you. We can't hear you.
Crap.
We're losing you.
Yeah, I can hear you fine though. Crap. Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I can see and hear you fine. What is happening here? Crap. Hello? Hello? No. No. Don't lose me. No. Find me. Am I back?
Yeah, I'm sorry if that was my fault. My computer decided to pick that very moment to start running really, really super slow.
Okay, don't worry. Don't worry about it. All right. So where exactly did we lose me?
You started to talk about Menace.
So yeah, I like Menace a lot. I like the design. The red, the gray, the yellow. I like the color combination. I like a lot of that. And basically, I think that's most of my positive stuff for the issue. But my cons for the issue, trying to beat the loser status of Peter Parker into the ground yet again. Ugh, really don't like it. Really don't like it. I disagree with it very, very much. I'm not a fan of the whole, oh, Peter Parker is a loser. Oh, Peter Parker is, oh, look, he can't afford webbing. Oh, he has no web fluid, all that stuff. Irritating as all heck.
The worst part is it's like we get it. Web shooters are back. He's not having the organic Raimi expired ones no more. But you don't got to beat our head with it every freaking issue. I'm running out of web fluid. Get some new web fluid. I mean, it happens, I think, in the next arc, too, with Freak, I think it happens again, to the point that we see him make it a new batch.
Yeah, so that kind of sucks. And also, I'll get into this even more later. The fact that the whole jackpot thing, this is really sort of like existential to this issue because of stuff that's revealed later. All the hints in here and in the upcoming issues that we're going to talk about, that Jackpot is actually Mary Jane. All these hints in here, the fact that they aren't true is just so irritating. It almost feels like a slap in the face. I'm not going to go out and say that that's what it is, but it kind of feels like, oh, hey, this isn't Mary Jane. It's like, because Mary Jane's not here anymore. It's just like, really? It's just disingenuous, I think.
They went overboard with it. If you had her just be a redhead who said the word tiger, and obviously the name Jackpot, I would have been okay with it. But it's the way she talks. The way how she said last issue, or the last arc, I mean, because it's an issue 1, that she needs to make up the money by doing a modeling gig, and then when we find out who the fuck she is later on, she's not even a fucking model. Then why did she bring up a modeling gig to herself? Why is she wearing a wig to look like a redhead? It's like, it blows your mind. And then like because a lot of these are just it's Mary Jane, fooled you, it's not Mary Jane, you're not getting her back in the books, haha. And the worst part about it was that like they just pointed the clues so much that people were even making the connection. Okay, mate, because there was always a hint that Marvel was saying because it was going to be Lily. Well, maybe Menace is a girl, and so people were thinking, okay, Menace has a redhead. Jackpot's a redhead. You take the J from Jackpot and the M from Menace. What do you get? MJ. So there were so many theories about this is Mephisto fucking over Mary Jane, where she has a split personality, hero and villain complex, or it's just Mary Jane's Jackpot, or maybe Mary Jane's Menace, and it turned out to be none of that. And at least, granted, with Menace, we actually got to know who Menace is and everything, and actually get to see actual legit clues. Jackpot was never set up as a legit mystery because it was all red herrings, pun intended.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really didn't like that. I really did not like the Jackpot stuff. But I'd say that this issue, it was about a decent mix of good and bad. Probably a bit more top heavy on the good stuff. So I give 549 a thumbs up. I would say I give a thumbs up. Would you agree with that, James?
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up. It's just the Jackpot stuff that's kind of irritating now we know about her. Because in a lot of ways, Jackpot's the original Silk, if you think about it.
Oh gosh. Maybe. I don't know.
Silk's the done right version of a character. You know it's bad.
So as we move on to Amazing Spider-Man number 550, same creative team and everything. Basically, Spider-Man tries not to get arrested by the Blue Shield, and ultimately, when he is just about to be unmasked, Menace shows up and happens to and basically crashes the party. And so Spider-Man fights Menace, and the Blue Shield, kind of just leaves for whatever. Spider-Man fights Menace, and he figures, man, Menace is like a combination of the Goblin and Electro, because Menace shocks him, and that sends him flying off of a glider and into a river. So he
I have with that, the Goblin used to have shocks that came out of his fingers. In fact, that was one of the first things he showed up in Amazing 14. It's the fact that he could shocked what's his name, Big Ox from the Enforcers, when they said, hey, why should we listen to you? He shocks them, I think, doesn't he? He points his finger and you see the shocks come out. So why is Peter thinking, oh, it's ripping off Electro? No, it's still ripping off Norman.
Yeah, who knows? And so Spider-Man wakes up unconscious on a pier the next morning. I'm getting echo.
I'm not.
Turn your...
But I'll fix it.
Okay. Oh yeah, now it's gone. It's gone now. I don't know why.
I haven't even done nothing yet with my computer.
Okay. So Spider-Man wakes up unconscious the next morning, and he and Jackpot try to search, or they're like, yeah, they go in and search Menace's hideout, and they find something related to the Apollo Theater, and so Spider-Man just goes to the DB and looks up information on some of his spider tracers have been found on some victims lately. So he's trying to look up information on that, and he also looks up. He tries to set up a meeting with Captain or Detective Pallone of the NYPD, who promises, oh, don't worry, I won't turn you over to S.H.I.E.L.D. And all that. And so they have a meeting, and he says, yeah, I'm not going to turn you over to S.H.I.E.L.D., but I'm going to turn you over to the NYPD because of the spider tracer stuff. And meanwhile, Menace is attacking a mayoral debate at the Apollo Theater. So there was actually a connection there. And Spider-Man's like, wait a minute. The 05 debate was held at the Apollo Theater. Oh my gosh, it's all my fault. I'm such an idiot. And then right at that moment, he's like, as he's about to go confront Menace at the, who's kidnapped a mayoral candidate, he encounters the NYPD, who are basically about to say, yeah, we're about to take you in. And that's where issue 550 basically ends. My overall thoughts on this issue, again, I think it's a solid. I think it's a solid enough issue. Most of this issue is actually spent with Spider-Man and not so much with Peter Parker, which is which I think is a better thing. because I feel like a lot of the problems I have with Brand New Day relate to the Peter Parker aspect of Spider-Man's life. And so when he's in the costume more, I have less problems with it. I really like even though I don't like the Jackpot character, the dynamic between her and Spider-Man is kind of fun to read. I especially love the moment where Spider-Man's like, well, will you tell me your secret identity? And she's like, okay, tell me yours. And he says, Flash Thompson. I like that moment. I don't know why. It's just
one of my because
it's one of your pet.
Well, think about it. What did we end up finding out later in Omit? Mary Jane knew everything all along. Why did he have to lie to her? Because he thinks it's Mary Jane. Because he even says, so wait, your name's not Mary Jane?
Yeah, because she says, my name's Sarah Arrett. And he's like, so it's not Mary Jane then? And she's like, no, not at all. And so, yeah, that is kind of I guess we can say, oh, this is pre-continuous, but
even before Omit came out, I was like, what the fuck? Because Mary Jane knows Flash.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
Well, I'm going to tell who I think is Mary Jane that my name is Flash Thompson. She couldn't just make up a fucking name just to be on the safe side. He couldn't just say, Bob Buttons, what's your name? Or something like that. He couldn't think of anything off the top of his head. He had to go Flash, who, if Mary Jane is Mary, she would have said, bullshit, he's off in Iraq right now.
Oh, man. Okay, that plot hole kind of sucks. Oh, man, I didn't even think about that. Okay, that plot hole kind of sucks. Thanks, James.
So when he's knocked out on the pier and she hands him the coffee, if she's a superhero with the Resurrection Act and the whole big thing with her and the Blue Shield in the beginning was to unmask Peter, why didn't she do it when he was unconscious?
Because that would violate his privacy. Who knows?
And who the fuck is the Blue Shield? All these years, I don't know who because this guy never shows up fucking again in Brand New Day. And he doesn't appear in any of the initiative shit they were doing at the time because of Civil War.
Who knows? Well, didn't you read the captions? Apparently he was in like an issue of Dazzler in like 1981 or something.
So that constitutes him being an issue of Amazing Spider-Man in 2008.
Yep, apparently so. Apparently that's...
Dan Slott didn't even write this because I could see Dan Slott doing that.
All right,
so this is Mark Guggenheim, the mastermind behind the DC television universe. The guy, you know how Jan goes nuts about the Flash and Arrow? This is the guy responsible for it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I did like the dynamic between Spidey and Jackpot. I like the action scene with Menace. Even though James isn't a fan of it, I like the line, oh man, she's a combination of Goblin and Electro. I like that. To be honest, there wasn't a whole lot in this issue that I didn't like. The only scene I didn't like was, oh, Betty, I don't have a computer. Who doesn't own a computer in the 21st century?
Well, he said it the last issue before, too. If I had a computer, I would be on Monsters.com right now. It's called a fucking library, you dumbass.
Yeah, so I didn't like that scene. But pretty much everything else in this issue I liked. So that's basically my overall thoughts. So, James, what are your overall thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man 550?
This issue gets a few points down from the last issue. Menace, it begins the Menace arc, which I never really gave a shit about. I gave a shit about it in 2008 until that goddamn reveal shit that ended up being shit. And Jackpot, again, bullshit mystery kind of ruins this issue, for me. But it's just, there's a lot of plot holes, and the whole fact that it's almost like Civil War, how once again, Lily's dad looks like Obama, and the chick who's in the debate, who's the first runner, is a Hillary Clinton parody.
Oh my gosh. Why did I not realize? I didn't even realize some of this stuff when I was reading through this today. Wow.
It's blatant that this whole arc was to play off the election that was coming up.
I mean, obviously, I know that, obviously, but it was like, wow, how did some of that stuff go over my head?
Her last name is Parafree, which kind of sounds like Hillary.
Okay, no, I disagree on that, but...
You know what I mean, though? It ends with the E sound.
All right. But I think you're looking a little bit too much into that, personally.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I thought, oh, her name even rhymes with Hillary. Ha 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 ha. But yeah, you got that bullshit. You got the Menace, which, like I said, I didn't give a shit about. I kind of gave a damn about, and it was very little in this issue, because it was like, why are we getting this other Goblin if we just can't have, the original? Because all the thousands of Green Goblins and Hobgoblins and Gray Goblins and Demo Goblins and Ultimate Hope Goblins that we had over the years, I guess we need another fucking Goblin. And like I said, the line about how it's ripping off Electro, and it's like the Green Goblin also had sparks a shot out of his fingers. Why are you making that connection except to remind us that, oh, hey, Electro's a thing? You have the whole the thing like I said about Flash Thompson and her name, because if you legitimately think it's Mary Jane, he couldn't have said a different fucking name. You have Lily actually being kind of competent in this issue. And then you have the bullshit, the ending, which is just a part of the other goddamn stupid mystery, because they had 3 fucking mysteries that happened in this issue and this whole era, which were who is Menace, who is Jackpot, and who is the Spider Tracer killer. And this ending ties into it. So you got, that's what also was this 3 fucking goddamn mysteries that were bullshit are in this issue. So yeah, I'm telling you right now, 2 thumbs down for me for this one issue.
Oh man, I give it a thumbs up. Oh man, I feel kind of bad now. I mean, I enjoyed this book. Ooh, I mean, I to be honest, I don't feel really bad.
This is also
I don't feel bad.
This is also the issue of one of the many where they have the caption, like, if you want to know where this story, what they're referring, like a character would say, "Oh, I haven't saw you since me and Iron Man teamed up to fight Doctor Doom," and it'll be like, "See Amazing Spider-Man," or "See Marvel Team Up," issue 75 in 1984 or something like that. Well, this issue, Peter's calling because he's wondering if Harry's Menace. And what does it say? If I can get the panel to not be freaking blurry, and if I can actually get it on the screen.
You're not going to.
It says, why don't, it goes, okay, I'll read it to you then. The short version is, a few years ago, Harry was the Green Goblin, and Peter is concerned that his friend might have fallen off the wagon or onto a glider and became the Goblin again. Jeez, don't you see the movies? Stephen Wacker. And this ain't the first time that they have told you, ironic enough with Harry in these books, where they don't tell you, "Oh, I died, Peter. See Spider-Man 3. Or, "Oh, I blame Spider-Man for all the shit that goes wrong in my family. See Spider-Man 2. Oh, Oh, remember Peter when Gwen died? See Amazing Spider-Man 2 that comes out in about 5 years.
Yeah, because apparently the Raimi films are now canon to the 616 universe, according to that.
Well, the artwork kind of makes it look like it. But that's also a plus, so I'm not making a joke about that as a bad thing. And also, look at this is how old this comic is. Brand new series premiering this fall, Phineas and Ferb.
Oh my gosh. Wow. All right, so I guess James gives it a thumbs down. I give it a thumbs up. So we disagree on this issue, but we move on to Amazing Spider-Man 551. Basically, it's a fight. Spidey manages to convince the cops to help him go after Menace because they do that. He, Jackpot, and the police fight Menace. The mayoral candidate, whose name I don't even remember, who got kidnapped by Menace in the previous issue, ends up getting Norman Osborn drag glider, and it's all Jackpot's fault. And so basically, Peter Parker gets $2,000 because Peter Parker gets $2,000 for his picture of Menace, because even though he wasn't the first one to bring one in, it was of a very high quality. So he gave him a $2,000 bonus instead of a $10,000 one, because he wasn't the first. And so the issue ends with Spider-Man going to see Jackpot, or going to see Sarah Arrett, and she's like, "I don't know who you are," and Spider-Man's like, "Great." To me, this issue, it's a fine cap to this arc. I think overall this arc has been stronger than the previous Brand New Day arc. It's not a bad issue, I don't think. The typical Brand New Day problems are still there. The typical jackpot problems are still there, but it's a fine issue.
Problems are still there.
To be honest, I don't really have a lot of problems with Menace. I really don't. So, to be honest, I'll give this issue. I'll just go right in. I give this issue a thumbs up. It's fine with me.
Do you want me to give my review?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like this issue more than the second issue. There's still some faults in here. Don't get me wrong. One of them being Peter, one of the big things about Brand New Day is how secret he is about the secret identity. Nobody must know. Not even my Aunt May. Nobody. Now, if one person finds out, I have to do everything in my power to make sure they forget or don't believe it. I gotta do everything. Hey, there's a new mysterious superhero. Must find out who the fuck she is right away. I don't trust her. I don't know her name. Peter Parker, of everybody, should goddamn respect people's privacy. And here's another thing. She's registered, so her secret identity should be known already.
Yeah, he even says to himself, he's like, your identity is not a secret. You're known to at least like 12 different SHIELD organizations.
But then it brings up this big thing. If Peter doesn't know, and the public doesn't know, because the whole mystery is who is Jackpot? Who is this mysterious Jackpot? Then what was the big deal about Peter leaving in Civil War? If only SHIELD, which was run by Tony, knew. Because SHIELD already knew. They knew back in Avengers #1 when he got demasked in the breakout. SHIELD had a file for him and everything ready to go.
Contrived plot. That's really the only reason. Plot contrivance.
Granted, he got masked in the fucking press conference, so all that goes mute point. But he didn't have to. He could have still stayed in the Avengers, and while SHIELD knew, nobody else knew.
Plot contrivance.
Tony could just outright say, yeah, it's kind of hypocrisy, but Spider-Man has, been a hero for like 50 years, so we're respecting his wishes of, we know, and he's registered, but you don't get that luxury. But no, Civil War had to be, what Civil War ended up being. And this had to be what it ended up being because we had to have Peter single again. But that's like my big gripe is that the whole mystery of Jackpot in this issue, who is she? She lied to me. One, she's registered. And two, Peter should respect her wishes of not having a secret identity, because of what the fuck he just did a few months ago in One More Day.
See, you're pointing
right to want to know her secret. He's the last person who should be wanting to find out.
James is pointing out all these plot holes right now that are really making me not like these issues as much as I did.
Now you're seeing why all those other Spider-Man podcasts and websites and forums are the way they are, John, about with this era.
To be honest, I'm not a big proponent of the Brand New Day era. I just enjoyed this arc.
But yeah, I like the whole kind of, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan like me, there's a Dragon Ball Z Easter egg here where his tracer scanner is the Dragon Ball scanner from Dragon Ball.
I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan, so I wouldn't have caught on to that.
Yeah, but I am, however, so I caught that.
All right, so would you give this issue a thumbs up, a thumbs sideways, or a thumbs down?
Thumbs sideways, because like I said, that whole mystery bullshit that pisses me off, like as you could tell. You got the whole no, there was an issue before with the whole ceasefire entry. But you got this the whole death of the Hillary counterpart. Again, it just sounds like, oh, we gotta have the Obama father Lily now running. So what do we do? Does this lady drop out because she's scared of Menace because of blackmailing? No, she dies. But I give them credit. I give them credit because Peter doesn't drop to it. It's all my fault that she's dead because I had to get the photo for the people of Menace and Jackpot. Oh my god! No, he goes, I'm not taking the blame. It's her fault, and he's right, kind of. Because she did the dumbass, shit in this issue. Peter, for once, actually says, hey, this ain't my problem. Well, not his problem, because he was still there. And he still feels bad. But she jumped onto the glider and fucked up Spider-Man, taking him down peacefully. And then with history of what has happened before with blondes and gliders, history repeated itself. And Peter's like, I knew how to prevent it because I learned from my mistakes. Jackpot hasn't. Welcome to the big leagues, honey. Kind of. And I do like that. I give that credit, how they did that. How Peter once acted like he is the veteran superhero. And then he's not just breaking down and saying, it's all my fault, it's all my fault.
Yeah. All right. So I think at this point that's gonna do it for our little classic review section. I say classic review, like these issues are really old. They're really not. So that's gonna do it for our little back issue review section this week. And that's really gonna do it for this episode of the podcast. It's after midnight here, and I should probably like stop talking so loud. If you notice a decrease in my voice, it is because I'm trying not to wake my parents up. So yeah, we'll just do real quick shout outs. So James, what shout outs do you have this week?
My first shout out goes to the inker of this last issue because I am rereading this as we speak, and I forgot about this. That I don't know if this was anybody else's problem, but this was like this when I bought this off the shelf the day the issue came out. The ink was wearing off on the thought balloons. I can barely make out that final panel where he says, don't you have to play coy with me? You already told me the secret identity. Like half of those words are goddamn missing letters because like the paint is wearing off. And that was the ink since day one when I bought this issue. But no, to be real about my real shout out to Angel Radio, my other homeboys, because I do a shout out there, so I'll do a shout out here too. Final shout out. God, I can't think of anything else to really shout out. My dad, happy Father's Day. Before I forget. And that's about it for shout outs.
All right, my shout outs this week. My shout outs go to Marvel, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. Obviously, without them, we wouldn't be here. Shout out to Sony and Marvel for getting into a civil war, I guess, because I just find that hilarious. And so, also shout out to Michael Myers because of that brilliant intro that we did. James just found that.
And there's a Marvel Cinematic Universe connection to Michael Myers. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, starred a very young Paul Rudd, who's going to be an Ant-Man next month.
All right. Shout out to my father as well for Father's Day, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, we hope to be back on the air again next week. Who knows? We hope to be back on the air next week. If we are, obviously I'll tweet about it and stuff. So yeah, we will see you guys next time.
And Marvel, please tell me when the new issues are coming out because I'm still confused and I don't know what to do. Bye.